Good morning. It's a pleasure to be back, and I really would like to start with an opening prayer. I'm thankful, and I have deep gratitude for all of you who have supported me, my followers, my neighbors, my community, my shul, everyone who has been with me through these trying times. Not just when I had the cancer, but during self-isolation too, because the pandemic has really affected all of us. And on top of that, we've had to suffer through what I call the three big lies. Two of them I understand totally. One, not at all. I would ask you for help on that one. One of the big lies has been perpetrated by big oil, and before the lobbyists existed, it was helped along by government. In 1921, leaded gas first came on the scene in America. Everyone, including the oil companies, knew that this gas was toxic. It was banned here in America sometime in the late 80s or 90s, I believe, but it was still in the last country on the planet up until 2021. 100 years to get rid of a toxin that everyone knew was toxic. And now we see big oil perpetuating climate denial. Luckily for us, people aren't buying it anymore. They've seen with their eyes and felt the power of our earth as it turns against us. With the fires, the tornadoes, the cyclones, the earthquakes, the loss of biodiversity, the melting of the sea ice, the acidity of the oceans. We see it, we feel it. Last year, we had $145 billion in loss, property loss, and almost 1,000 lives, I believe, too, lost due to climate extremes. Why was it perpetrated? It's obvious. It kept big oil alive and thriving. They don't have to raise rates. They've made fortunes on us. And I know that they get almost $1 trillion in subsidies. It would be far better to take away their subsidies, have them pledge to clean up their messes all over, and really invest heavily in green technology. I'd pay them for that. I'd give them back all their subsidies in a nanosecond if they can solve fusion technology or come up with a solution for making electric cars cleaner. They've got the power and they've got the money. The other folks who benefited from climate denial were the social media platforms, of course, and any organization that denied that there was a problem with our climate, that we were not feeling the intensity of global warming, which we are, and which most of us know about. And now we have to go back to the indigenous people all over the world and collaborate with them on how to rewild our land so we can survive. Right? I mean, It's going to take a lot, and we're going to have to be able to think of all the unintended consequences of our acts as well. Because certainly this short-termism to deny climate, nobody thought about how's it going to affect us in the long term. They just said, we'll take in the profits, and social media was glad to help. Even though there were only, maybe 12 perpetrators of denial on social media. They made a fortune. The perpetrators made a fortune, and social media platforms made a fortune. And what was the next big lie? It really started in 2015, before the election. I was convinced that there was nothing more important to read than Robert Mueller's report when it came out in 2019. I'm a person who loves espionage. I've been reading espionage since the 70s. I guess when I gave up science fiction for a while and fantasy, I went straight ahead into espionage. Le Carré, Clancy, Baldacci, Dayton, you name it, I read it. And I loved it. To me, it was the most exciting books I have read. I love the intrigue. Well, when I read Shining a Light on the Mueller Report, which is my synopsis of the original Mueller Report, when I read the original Mueller Report, I was transfixed. I couldn't let it go. I read 100 pages a day, no matter how long it took me, and it took me 10, 12 hours easy. And I made notes, and I would have to take a walk because I became so aggravated. In my life, I have never seen a seamless action between players. When Donald Trump went on TV and said, I want those 30,000 emails of Hillary Clinton's, he got them. He got them. Got them from Wikileaks. They told him how to de-encrypt the information. It was sent to Donald Trump Jr., and voila, they were released. Did we make a big fuss over what was happening? Sure was reported in the papers. I sent my synopsis around to the entire committee. I even went to Nancy Pelosi because I was convinced that Donald Trump should be impeached on obstruction of justice. And it's interesting, my little booklet has an article in it from the Financial Times dated December 13th, 2016, showing Trump's Russian connections for 30 years. They gave me the copyright in 1 week. I was impressed, and I didn't have to pay that much for it either. So that's included in my little booklet also. And I will give a shameless plug for it because I'm convinced nobody's read the book. You've seen the lies that have been put out about what happened in the 2016 election. And you've seen the smears of Robert Mueller's work product. But I didn't feel it was anything but cogently written and reliable testimony to the big lie that was to follow. It was bad enough that WikiLeaks and the GRU helped Donald Trump. It was bad enough that every Secretary of State in our union was hacked at one point or another, and that at least 2 counties in Florida, they did hacking and may have changed some of people's registration forms. All of that convinced me that voting in America was in peril. And sure enough, by 2020, it certainly was. And who's to blame besides Donald Trump and his family and everyone in Congress who supported him for the insurrection of January 6th? The social media platforms. 6 months or 6 weeks, I'm not sure at this point in my memory which one it is, but before the insurrection of 1/6, 650,000 posts were on social media coordinating and talking about the fact that the 2020 election wasn't legitimate. Now you got to ask yourself, who gains from this? Well, for one thing, the social media platforms gained big time because they got millions and millions of hits. The people who perpetrated the lies about the 2020 election, they got paid also in the millions. And Donald Trump and his family, well, they got a lot to gain. As part of their deal with Putin is Moscow Center. Never forget Moscow Center. It would have given Trump billions in perpetuity. We don't know what would he have had to give in return, because evidently he hasn't done enough yet. But there is, I'm sure, a quid pro quo. Hasn't happened yet, but it's there. That's the underlying reason for the big lie that we're now investigating. And the third lie, I don't understand at all. The anti Vaxxers and the people and the physicians who would perpetrate such a lie about our vaccines. The vaccines work. The fact that they're not perfect, they don't need to be. They need to protect us from severe disease. They need to make sure that those of us who are not immune compromised will not become really ill and will not wind up on ventilators in the hospital. Our healthcare system is breaking under the burden of COVID. And it's dreadful for little children. If you think a mask is difficult for a child, imagine what it's like to be in the hospital. This is not good for our country. Over 850,000 have died. Someone said about 30,000 are dying a month. And this is dreadful. This is really dreadful. The curve for COVID at this point is exponential. The infection rate is quick. Within 72 hours, you can be sick. And they're not sure if it's in droplets or just in the air. So you got to be really cautious. If you do have a KN95 mask, wear it. For me, it means isolation again, since I'm immunocompromised. I've got to stay inside unless I can meet up with someone who's equally as protective of their life as I am. So far, I've decided isolation's not so bad. I rebel against it on occasion, but I've been extremely lucky. I can still continue my passion on YouTube, and While we're speaking, let me tell you about another passion that I've been doing. I have reaction videos to music. They come out every couple of weeks on a Thursday, and I've covered BTS, I've covered Dimash, I've covered Marcelito, and now I've covered Zuzhen, and there will be more. So I hope everyone enjoys the reaction videos, because I think listening to music is good for our souls. It touches our hearts, touches our emotions, and it doesn't matter what country or countryman or woman sings it. It's a universal feeling. So to me, whatever brings you calm and peace, hey, I'm willing to try it. Meditation got me through chemo. But it doesn't mean I've forgotten about us and the problems that affect us. And that's why I spoke about an old report that's been disparaged for no good reason, except for having told the truth. Kind of reminds me of a program one of my cousins asked me to watch, Bosch, about an LAPD policeman who's consumed with pursuing truth. Not always rewarded for it, but he's got to do it anyway. So, God bless you all. Thank you for being here. And I certainly hope to see you next week. Bye now, and take care.